Go. Hey, my name's Phil the Cruz. Welcome to Cruising the Phil. I'm back. My special guest. I got this guy back in January. Pierre from London is back to do it. Pierre Gives It Straight. That's what I call it. Hey, Pierre, how you doing?
As straight as I can, Phil. It's nice to be back with you. Nice to see you.
Hey, last time I talked to you, we did our interview, and then like a week later, you're like, you sent me a picture. You're in Switzerland. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it was nice, and it was funny. That's a nice way to segue into maybe another discussion point. Either we can even talk about that now, but
No, it's just
um,
like so
Switzerland.
ironic. Eh? Life is like I'm there. I just talked to you one day. Like, I was got a picture in Switzerland. How'd you get over there so
Yeah,
fast?
yeah, yeah. Oh, those planes, But what I
I
found
know.
interesting was we always hear about the cost of living in Canada, and when I'm not, you know, setting that aside, saying that's not true that cost of living is higher and things are expensive and so forth, but I think when we hear that rage about how much things cost and so forth, I think a lot of people haven't traveled outside of Canada, and they always compare ourselves to the States.
Yeah.
And you know, and I'm not saying that we should be worse or better than Europe or whatever it is, but if you go to Europe, and I've been lucky enough to go to a number of places that it's quite expensive in Europe, even
Oh
even with
yeah.
our dollar exchange, especially Switzerland. Switzerland is the one of the most expensive countries on the planet. But there's pros and cons that go with that. Like the level of quality of life they have in Switzerland is amazing. The transportation, although expensive, the trains are expensive. They're highly reliable, highly efficient. You if they're more than a minute or two behind, that's a delay for them. Um, so it's just, and they have like so many trains. Like even in smaller cities of 100,000 people, they have a train station that rivals Union Station as far as the number of tracks that go in and out of the station. So um, it's, I think people need to kind of put perspective in. Yeah, the cost of living has gotten higher, but it's the same everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't think Canada's not immune to it. I know they blame the government, federal government's all their fault. I said, there's some things that, as many people don't like Trudeau, he seems to be some powerful guy that can affect world inflation and world oil prices and all this. And so we have to kind of calm down the heat and say, you know what? It's just the way it is right now, post-COVID world. And same with housing. If will housing come down, it probably will come down a little bit, with interest rates up higher, that less people are going to be, maybe they're holding themselves in the market from going in the market or switching homes or whatever it is. And that'll reduce costs of homes. But I think the way it's gone, I don't think they're going to drop a whole lot. I'm not going to have big crashes, I don't think. But I think we need some perspective on, what, life in Canada is not bad. It's pretty good. And I
No, we
think
got it pretty
people,
good.
when push comes to shove and they can do comparators and stuff, I think it's pretty good. We get compared to the States so often. And so, well, I don't know. I've done I live close to the States. My wife would go in and grocery, do some shopping. I went in with her, I think it was back in January when I came back, and we stopped at a grocery store just to pick up a number of things. And I just started looking at prices. And, I'm not overly savvy on all the prices in Canada, because I'm not, I don't like big superstores. I go to more smaller mom and pop type grocery places, and which are more expensive, but you get better produce. But their prices, even in American dollars, were very similar to ours on a number of things. So, dairy, yes, cheaper. Liquor, of course, much cheaper. But liquor's, so that's why they call them sin taxes. It's a sin tax on something that we don't consume a lot of. And I was recently in Ireland, and their booze prices are almost identical to ours in euros, and what we're paying in Canadian dollars. So
Yours more than the dollar, right? European dollar, like Euro. What do you
yeah,
call
it's
it?
like
Euro.
145 went to 148.
Yeah, yeah. People don't realize that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
same with the Swiss. That's the only thing in Swiss francs, which is actually a little bit higher than the euro, like a few cents. They're paying almost the same in Swiss francs as what we pay in Canadian dollars, and that's, so when
yeah.
you do the exchange, it's like, oh my god, it's so expensive here. Um,
Even like parts
but
of
mind
Canada,
you,
like sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, but their wages are higher in the minimum wage. So we're talking about
Yeah.
minimum wage. Or minimum wage, I looked up, I think it's around 25 francs in 25, 26 francs in Switzerland. But they're definitely losing a lot of that. So, but mind you, their prices too, they're VAT, so all their taxes are included. So whenever you see a price, That's the final price. I don't believe there's too many extra taxes at checkout. They
Yeah,
already include
that's it.
pricing.
This yeah, that's how I
Yeah.
think about it. But even like when I was in the 80s, I was in Goose Bay, posting Goose Bay in the military. Like, you want to go and see expensive up there? Oh my gosh. It's
Oh,
like,
I'm okay, isolated, right? So
yeah, it's like
they're
parts of Canada are expensive, like Newfoundland or
and
PI.
Nunavut or any of the the
Anything, they call
territory.
anything imported is expensive.
Oh,
But
it's
like even the island, like the Caribbean islands. My brother lived with my sister-in-law, and the kids. I used to go visit for a week. I was like, how do people afford living here? My gosh, like
I don't know how they do it. No, I
I'm like
mean,
like a case of
yeah,
Coke back then was like $14. I was like, oh my gosh.
yeah, yeah. No,
Drink
it's
it
it's
slowly.
shouldn't drink too much Coke. It's not good for you.
Yeah,
A lot of sugar or Pepsi. Doesn't matter which
I
one.
know, I know. Oh, it's
Um,
so funny.
no, it's so I wanted no, I brought it up with you earlier when we spoke with regards to how you felt, being someone that had their name in the hat for the mayor race, and how
Oh, the
you,
by-election, yes.
yeah, the by-election for the leader of Toronto, how you felt it went. It seemed being an outsider from London, but seeing some Toronto news and how dirty it got, and um, even for you, I think you ran into a couple of issues. But from what you told me, I didn't know until you told me. Um, with regards to your Twitter. So what were your thoughts post, now that it's been a while?
Well, it's kind of sad. Well, last year I came in 18 out of 31 candidates with Tory, right? And then this year they
Yeah.
had 102 candidates. So I came
That's,
in, the vote was split. Now there's all questions about the whole rigmarole with the whole voting thing and all. That's another story. But the thing is that like a lot of candidates, like okay, give me an example. Like, my platform, food security and renting, my thing. That's for the people. Wasn't discussed at all in any of the platforms for the top six candidates. Yet after the election, this is the biggest issue right now is food security, food banks, and rent. And they're talking about housing. The government's talking about power say housing. We're going to housing. But the problem is you got to fix within. And we don't discuss it. Like we don't talk about going fixing things in the building. Like a lot of rental strikes going on. That's because disrepair, landlords, the landlords are not accountable. That's a problem. And I said in my platform, you need to reduce the rent. It's a provincial thing. But you know what? You got to do something because rent control is not enough. Building houses is not enough. How's that going to compete? How's that going to catch up in the 2020, 30? They already made the announcement. They said like all these candidates are talking about they're going to have 44,000 homes by 2030, whatever. And the government just said we're not going to meet the quota. There's no way. It's impossible because right now the
well,
workforce.
you need manpower for all that
Well, that's what I'm
building. I
saying.
mean,
Yeah, it's exactly what I'm
I
saying. Workforce reduced. There's not enough manpower. There's not
yeah,
enough educated kids, young gentlemen and women out there being trained properly, especially for the whole green economy going on. Green economy, like building wise, it's not there. It's slowly developing, but it's not going to catch up. All these people that retire, like a lot of these guys, like all Italian guys, and all buddies of mine, they're all retiring.
okay.
They're all grandfather companies, and their sons don't want to take over. Too much work. They're going to retail.
And a
So
lot
that's
of
the thing.
guys, Phil, probably a lot of those guys have been working well into what many people were retired by then,
Yeah.
because the demand high for their services, and now they're like, okay, my back can't take it, so I'm not going to do
Oh
this
yeah.
work anymore.
And these guys had
Or
no
the
they had those
skill,
yeah,
skill
they had
manpower.
those safety precautions back then, like you look at the pictures and like the building the bridges and all, like, even the tower. I
Yeah,
had guys whose fathers worked on the CN Tower and the some of the major bridges. No safety harnesses, just standing free for all, just put
yeah,
things together,
yeah.
Now they can't do that.
That's back then. No, no, but a lot of people died, unfortunately,
Oh
because of
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well,
That's
look at the St. Lawrence Sea. How many people died in that thing? Oh
oh,
my God.
it's you don't even want to try to. I mean, in today's world, you try not to even think about that. But um, I look at platforms now, or if you want to call it a platform, with what Poyev is saying, and I'm going to build houses, and I'm going to bring home more powerful paychecks, and it's all meaningless and empty promises that,
Well, that's
and
what I
then
said. I said, I, I said, put it on paper. I said, in my platform, I will never promise something I can't put on paper. And I said,
well,
they're
they
not gonna put on, they won't put on paper. That's
lie or mislead, and it doesn't
exactly,
matter. Get
yeah.
power. And again, I'm not trying to say that anyone in power now doesn't, including the federal liberals, don't, but they don't do it to the same degree that I'm seeing just write out lies or misinformation about the current situation we're in. So, our economy sucks. I said, well, no, our economy doesn't suck. We've had one, we're in recession. I go, anyone who says that does not understand what a recession is. or how it's measured. And by measurement, we're not even close to being a recession, and we haven't. You have to have, is it three, I think, in a row of months in a row of GDP loss, and I think we've 1 month in the past 3 or 4 years of that. And jobs are still being created. We had a good month last month. It's not all full time, but we're still having decent months. The unemployment's still low, and when it comes to that, well, people can't afford homes. But I mean, in London right now, Phil, and I know I just traveled to Toronto. I had a meeting there last week or the week before, and you travel, through past, Woodstock, Cambridge. What are you going past Burlington, Oakville? You're taking Toronto. You're going past Milton and Guelph and Kitchener, and here in London, building like crazy. Homes are being and neighborhoods are being built like crazy. So, A, I don't know where all these people are coming from, and then B, the many people they talk about that need homes can't afford the homes they're building.
How much are the houses up there? Like the same price as Toronto?
No, London's lower, but it has come up a lot. The average home, 8 years ago in London was probably 350. It's now it's probably now 550. As a rough estimate. It's lower than Kitchener, Guelph area. But it has come up a lot. So London in the last 5 years, I think, is one of the fastest growing percentage-wise in percentage of home prices.
Okay.
And was one of the hottest markets. Now it's definitely lower, and things have quieted down.
Like your house, Pierre. Like how much back then? Can you say how much you paid for your house back then, and now what would it cost now? Okay, I don't want to see that.
But I'll tell you much. Probably
what,
got 10 years because I've been in my home for 20 years.
Yeah. So how much it cost now if you put on retail on the market?
It'd be over $1 million now.
Yeah.
But back far less. But this home in Toronto, but it was very affordable. So the prices have gone way up for sure. But what's funny, Phil, is that a lot of that has, the first 10 years, 15 years I was here, the home values had barely gone up, especially the first 10 years I had owned the home. And in the last 5, they've, like everywhere else, have gone through the roof. So it's, I don't think no matter what government was in place that would have, that wouldn't have changed, especially through the COVID years. Yeah. And post-COVID that we're in, if we even want to call it post-COVID, because there's still COVID around. I think we're always going to have to call it post-COVID because we have to live with it.
Blame it on COVID all the time, yeah.
Yeah, so we can't, but at the end of the day, it's not, was it COVID or was it what's the results of, what had happened during that time and market reflexes from it. So hopefully we've learned a lot from as a society on what we can do differently maybe for next time. But, there's a lot of people as well. We still have, high ownership rate in Canada. We still have one of the highest in the world at over, I think it's around 60% or over 60%. It would like to be better, I think. But when you talk about the biggest thing is rent control, they've lifted it now. Ford lifted it. So I think is it less than 10 years old or 5 years old that landlord can raise the rate whatever they want the rent.
Yeah. There's no control right now. There's less than 5.
Less than 5 years. So over 5 years, can't. It's 2.5%, which I think is a fair increase. Yeah. Especially if. But then there's landlords that have places that are 20 years old and they have an old tenant in there. They're getting old rent, but then they've had to renew the mortgage and the mortgage has gone through the roof. So
they're backdating now to the old, I got a court date.
Homes, right? It's only
I got a prime example. Like there's 30 of us, my building next door, the old property manager, I got rid of her finally. She was a real piece of work. We're all tenants. So right now, every couple of years they get the rent printout from the main office. Right. So it's called parking rent locker. So ours is we had 2 parking spaces with the rent when we came here 18 years ago. We got rid of 1 parking space. So every so many years a new property manager kicks in. Okay, just ignore you're the old tenants. But this one in particular, she wouldn't listen to any of us. So she gave eviction notices to everybody, including me. And now we all have court dates. Mine's demanded for 22nd. Gotta go to court to show why I don't have to pay the parking extra, which is including my rent on the lease, which we told her many times. Doesn't make any sense.
Can you? What are the chances that you would be evicted? Is it?
It's on our lease. It says parking. Rent with 2 parking spaces.
So she on that you refuse to pay something that she believes you have to pay, but that's
the thing. I got her investigated by the CRA right now because she and this company are picking certain. like ours is only like 2 months, backdated parking 2 months. So our legal aid says, why did they go all the way back 18 years? Why only pick it 2 months? Doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
And another thing he just pointed out is, they haven't taken they haven't decreased your rent off your rent because we gave it one parking space about 18 years ago. So we're still paying for that. And that's what they
Yeah.
want to dig us for. So we'll see what happens. Like I'm just one tenant. There's like 20 more other tenants going through the whole process, This is going all over Toronto. Like this is what they're doing. They're trying to get money out of you. They're trying to get the old tenants out. They want to up the
Well,
rent.
for the ones that are 5 years less, I saw a story. It was in the London Free Press, so it would be that the Sun papers, same the same group of owners, and where this young lady, they're booting her, they're raising her rent to it's like 5,000 a month,
Well,
2,500, so doubling it. It's 100% increase, because it's less than 5 years old. So how do you I mean, A, justify it, and then B, how like 5,000 a month is, I mean, that's
and there's no law to stop
that's
them.
$1 million mortgage there.
Yeah,
Like that's
exactly. There's no
mortgage,
control. That's the problem. When
right?
the COVID put a freeze on all the rent for the last year and a half, and then we sue. It's common sense. As soon as it's going to be over, they're going to double the rent. That was coming. We all did, but we
Yeah.
warned. We complained to the city or the councilor or the government. Nobody listened. But now they're talking about Parliament. This problem. They seem to be reacting to things that they could have avoided by creating, bylaws or laws to avoid all this. You know what I mean? It's like a delayed reaction. Let me change the subject here. I'm going to ask you a
Sure.
question. What do you think of the whole thing about? Uh, I mean, I support Ukraine and all that, but my question is, all this money's going out to Ukraine right now, right? And
Um,
and now
I
they've
I
cut
still support.
they gotta cut the military budget by about 1 billion. So this is my
Are
thing.
they have to will?
What's that?
Did you say they have to cut the military budget by a billion, or
Yeah, they
or
told
plan?
they told the big cheese you got to cut it by 1 billion. So the question is,
Oh,
so people think
um, I
we're
still support because you look at what Vladimir Putin is and what he represents,
I know he, yeah, I dealt with him.
and if we were to, and you don't know where all the money's going. I mean, that's the biggest
That's
question.
the
You
question,
hopefully,
right? Yeah, yeah.
right? And if there could be more transparency, and I guess, and I'm not, I don't look into that part because it's not something that I would even know where to look. But at the same time, if we were to let him roll over Ukraine, um, I mean, that was an invasion. I think that the people called it a war, but it's not a war. Protecting your country is not, you're protecting it. So if we didn't support him from the West, on at least on a monetary value, and I think a lot of us has been some military equipment as well. It hasn't just been money. But I still, does it have to be as much every time? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I can't answer that question based
The
on
funny
what
is
they're
that
needing.
the European Union, they would not accept them as part of the union for still to
Well,
this
they
day.
they can't, it has to be through time, and then
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing.
there's
Well, that's gets
and that have almost like a veto to it. I'm not
well,
exactly
that's the
too
thing.
sure.
Where all these countries are giving them money. That's great, but they will not put troops to help them out because it's
Well,
like,
they won't, because at this point they don't, they're not a part of the UN,
no, that's
so
what I mean.
they're
That's
not.
right. Yeah,
That's what I meant. NATO.
yeah.
So, and part of NATO is that if one country is attacked, they're all attacked. But because they're not a part of it,
Part of it. That's
then
right.
they're needed to help send military or men, or on that standpoint. They can send equipment and provide monetary aid, but no, it wouldn't be that easy, and there'd be countries that would block it. Anyway, I think Turkey would probably not allow it, because I believe Turkey's part of NATO, or have an influence on it, but I'm not even positive. But it even it took it was it Sweden that it just recently joined, and it wasn't like a slam dunk. One of the Scandinavian countries recently
Yeah,
joined, but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I believe it was Sweden, if I recall correctly. It doesn't matter. But it wasn't easy, right? Because there's certain countries, well, and then Putin's propaganda is, you're allowing these countries, where by more coming in, we're pushing in on him, even though that's
I think they go
I,
back to the euro dollar when they were moving the euro dollar into the Europe. A lot of countries told out a lot. A few didn't want that because they know there's going to be a currency change compared to their dollar to the euro, because the euro dollar is high. Like you've been over
I
there, yeah,
some didn't.
Even if it's like
It's well, I mean, the Swiss kept their francs, but they'll accept the euro because it's almost the same. The francs was worth 2 or 3 cents more, but then they accept the euro at par.
London won't accept it, right? Yeah,
In England,
yeah, they got the pound.
they have the pound. They always kept the pound, but they will. They will. When I was there, they accept it, but it's kind of like we accept the U.S. dollar, but you're getting Canadian dollars back in change, right? So it's not like they're going to have a separate till if you're using cash to pay. That you're going to get euro back. I believe they'll just give the exchange rate. So obviously that's not to your benefit at a retailer. You're better off to do it, either through a credit card that doesn't charge the extra interest rate, or pull from your bank, pull cash out and do the exchange at home at a better rate than doing it at a retailer because they charge more because that's what they do.
One of my friends asked me, how did he say, hey Phil, how they gonna cut the military budget? I said they're gonna take all the steak and leave the officers.
I don't know if they will cut. I mean, at the end of the day, we've increased it. It was at what 1% to GDP under Harper, and Trudeau's raised it to about 1.3, 1.4 roughly.
We still
I
got
think
old equipment's kicking around, right? Like it's people don't realize how old this stuff is.
well,
Like
there's stuff, yeah, and you're obviously were involved in that,
yeah,
so
yeah, like the old Hurt planes are still flying to this day. Like they should be
yeah,
gone.
yeah. No, that's very true and not a good thing, but
Well, you hear about that? You know that Arctic tragedy with the Hurt was went up to alert. The Hurt plane was
uh,
up to years ago, back in the 80s.
I kind of remember. Yeah, well, I
My
was around. Okay.
yeah, my, my you're not that young too, buddy.
Yeah.
My my warrant officer from base board, he was up. He's one of the passengers of the plane. They did a movie actually. They mentioned his name on the credits, but
Oh wow.
he
Okay.
died there when one of the planes on the plane they're going up the alert the crash because they're hurt plane. It's just an old plane, right? That hit
Old
his
plane. No, and we've had the old helicopter issues.
oh gosh, jeez.
What was the helicopter called? The larger one, the Sea King.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Where
Called we have a different name for it. We don't call it
week they seem to be happy.
we call it the seaweed.
Yeah, like no, but I mean, I the military budget.
I'll give you an
I don't know.
example. Here's the funny one, Pierre. I'm doing search and rescue in the Pacific. It's pouring rain. It's a thunderstorm. There's people down there. They're castaways. They're like refugees. They've had alert to go rescue this boat in the sea, whirlpool around there. So, anyways, I'm the lightest guy, so I went down there because I translate back then, right? And speak a different language. So I got on the rope there, and they're pulling
Yeah,
everybody up. And this is like this thunderstorm. Like, so the chopper's like you can hear the blades, right? If anybody knows about copters, like
yeah.
copter sound, a copter blade with a certain sound. When it makes a different sound, you know something's up, right? So there's on the last one on the boat. There's sharks around there. I'm like signaling, right? And you hear the blades. I'm going, oh shit, what's going on with the copter now? And I'm cursing, I'm like, damn old copters, let's get them up here so get out of here.
Yeah, because
It
one
worked.
thing with
It worked eventually.
you lose a plane, engine
Oh, yeah,
or
yeah,
they
yeah.
even had Transat plane that glided its way to a landing in the Azores Islands, and
Oh my gosh, yeah.
so and I didn't even know a big jet like that could do that until it becomes a gigantic glider. But a helicopter loses its rudder or
Oh my
loses power.
god. Yeah, the thing's like making a funny
It's
sound.
rock.
The crane's up. The crane's not working. They're not having enough power. The crane's up on the rope, so I'm hanging on like, come on, like I'm running a boat here. There's now you're laughing about it.
You speak another language.
Oh, you speak 52.
What story?
Used to speak 52 languages.
52.
Yeah, that's part of my trade. Yes, yeah. I was doing deciphering and decoding back then. I went from Stewart. They found I had low frequency hearing, so I can go on boats and sonars and copters and submarines, and because of the way they trained it. So I went to
So
different countries. What's that?
you're like superhuman then, is what you're saying.
I'm not just low frequency hearing. A lot of people have it. So, anyways, I got tested because I went on this trade. It's called deciphering decoding. I went around the world for like 2 years taking
So
my
you pick
course.
language easier because of that?
What's that?
Is that part of it? You pick up languages easier then because of that?
No, just because of the hearing. It's something I'm considering. It's quite important. I have to take these language skills. I have to take the language, decipher it to a code, to the English to the code, and back again. You know.
So
So
then So then what, so English, obviously you speak. What are the couple of other main languages that you can speak well?
Most of the European languages. The hardest thing I had was anything with throaty languages is hard for me, like Arabic, German. I had a hard time with those. I eventually got it, but it took a while, you know. And then you do your training for 2 years. Then you get away from your security clearance because I got there's like 4 levels of security clearance in the military, but then there's a couple of
Yeah.
higher. So I had to wait for the ones that go higher, like do my
So this is
job.
so this is just to poke fun. This is security clearance that our current head of opposition doesn't have,
Which one?
Mr. Poyev.
Oh, no, they don't have that. They have level. They have level, probably
No,
level 3.
he doesn't have he hasn't done a background, whatever he's supposed to have done.
Yeah, you do a background check. They do a background check
Background,
on
so they
your
won't get
all.
clearance on intelligence because of it. This is our leader of the opposition, does not have security clearance for
No,
intelligence.
no, he
I
shouldn't
mean,
be on there. Nobody on
that's
me.
boggles my
Anything he's touching with a number or a code or anything with a that says NA
and
on it, he shouldn't be touching. But that he's going on it, you know.
ignorance to his advantage when he tweets
Yeah, yeah.
or in the press when he has and you know, you look what he's doing, and it's smart, is that he overwhelms Twitter with the same messages, and most of it is
Oh yeah,
BS
yeah. I saw
or
that. Yeah,
garbage, like I'm going to bring you home more powerful paychecks by what, reducing our federal tax by 1%, and that's going to result in another $20 on my federal paycheck
yeah,
bi-weekly after tax. That's what we're talking about.
yeah.
But what does that mean? You're going to reduce our federal taxes. Okay, then what does that mean to federal programs? What does that mean to potential increasing the retirement age? Like, what does it mean? And I can't wait for the next election because I'm
And you're
going
gonna
to
get
listen.
extra. You're gonna Pierre. You're gonna get extra buck on your pension.
Well, that's what well that you can't take for another 2 years later. This is
That's
what I
right.
can't wait for the federal PC and same with the Liberal Party candidate or NDP, whatever. I'll ask them good questions, but I can't wait to ask the PC candidate that comes to my door, and whenever we have this federal election, it might not be for 2 more years, and say, what, when you say bring home powerful people, what do you mean by, like, what's the platform that ties into that? Because right now the CPs don't have one, they don't need it, there's not an election, but this is what they do, is they play up to these phrases
Yeah.
and and slogans that have no, they have no
This is
meaning. And
this is old
but
school tax. They've been using old school taxes for many years. Yeah, it's the same
but they
thing.
eat it up, Phil. I don't understand. They're eating it up, and
Yeah, I know. Like this, our election too. Like this whole our like. I'll give you an example. One of our guys,
in the mayoral.
he ran for MPP after this by election, which he
Yeah,
lost, of course. But he did canvassing galore and all, you know, knocking on doors and all that stuff. And like now compared to social media, so after it was all done, he was well known, like in the ward that
yeah.
he ran or MPP Ontario because Crawford left. And he only got like less than 169 votes after all that. And like people just shaking their heads like after all that canvassing and all that. I feel it's a different. It's old school. You know, social media is bigger than canvassing right now.
Oh,
People don't realize.
social media has, you know, and I look, and I was just saying it to my wife yesterday, that the internet has not made the world smarter. It's made the world more gullible.
Yeah,
Or it's allowed people to have a platform that never had a platform before. And whether you agree with their platform or not, they still have that platform they didn't have.
yeah,
And the echo chamber that they create amongst themselves and become strong and strong, and they suck in a few more people here and there, and they all believe it is gospel. Just for example, I mean the U.S. election of 2020 being stolen. I mean that you know, there's still 50 or 60% of Republicans that still believe it was stolen. Still believe it. You know, Biden couldn't have gotten 81 million votes. Like, I just you know, that's just one example. It could be, but it could work both ways. It doesn't have to be necessarily pick on the right. But it hasn't been good, and there's a lot of good that comes from the internet, but it seems the bad stuff of the internet is now influencing the world in a negative way, in my opinion. That, you know, and a good example is that Putin has always used that. He used to always have, he still does, where he has a yearly meet the press, where they have a big, it's like a big conference hall, and they can ask questions, but it's all questions that he will know in advance.
yeah,
He'll have,
exactly. That's right. It's all planned. It's all everything's planned. The
and
whole
it's all,
media. Yeah, all this
it's all,
whole last year's media with Corey, this year's media with those top 6 candidates. I get tons of emails like some of the other candidates, but why aren't you the food bank debate? You're the food bank guy or the food security guy or whatever. You know, like I'm not top 6 because they're the known status quo candidates. It'll happen again in the next 2026. the top ones, and no names be out there, and that's how the media promotes them. We have people, we have candidates. We have one lady, and she has 30 degrees in engineering. Amazing lady, you know, wasn't recognized, wasn't accentuated, right? We have other people, you know,
Well, Phil, when it gets to, and you said it was 101 candidates for mayor for
100,
that
102.
102. So should there be a cap? Because that becomes to me where anyone can, and what is it? Is it, how much is it? A couple $100 to
No, it's
put it.
per mayor, it's $200, but you get the money back. You get reimbursed after it's
You
over.
do, okay. I know that. I knew it was 200, but I didn't know you
Yeah.
get reimbursed.
You got to get 25 signatures. Now, one counselor
And then,
recently asked to increase that. See, in the States, it's different. But like I talked to a lot of city clerks, you know, like for example, 100 of us, 102. So each one has to have 25 signatures. I would bring 40 or 50. So each one brings about 20 or 40, 20 or 40. So each candidate puts the paperwork in, but that city clerks do all the work. We just put the paperwork in. They do all the work. And yeah,
yeah,
and I try to get one of the interviews. One of them, they won't let me do an interview, but the amount of work these city clerks do, and I always give them kudos. What they do is amazing. Not just elections, but all this stuff. People don't realize when you put the paperwork in, usually, yeah, I'm submitting this, but that's fine. You wait for the answer, but they're doing all the work. They got to distribute it, and that's the problem.
and so when someone went to vote, because obviously they didn't vote in the Toronto election, um, and they have 101 names down. Do they have them by alphabetical order? Do they have them
Oh
by
yeah,
rank?
they go over. Yeah, it's all by alphabetical on the ballot sheet. They go. Yeah.
So even if you want to find, and I'll pick Chow because she won, you've got to go down to the C's to find her, and
I
if
was
it's
I was D. I was number 34.
that's not bad. That's not bad. You know, it would be up near the front since my last name starts with a B, but I don't. I just it. How can it be? And this is the problem as well, is that there's, and what was this? What's his name? Chris Guy was in it, and he's not
Oh
even
yeah,
from.
yeah. He's a
And
good guy. I thought I met him at one of the meet and greets.
well,
Yeah.
I don't know if I
And
don't know if I
well,
don't
I
know if
know
I.
you got a lot of people don't like him, but I got besides the controversy about the guy, there's things I like about him and people don't like about him. The things I see about we've been around a lot of people, so you see things about people that people don't realize what they're actually inside. That's what I see about
I'm
him.
a bad person. Like I don't know. Again, I don't know him personally, but to me, I just think he's looking just for attention. To me, a person like that is looking for attention, and and it's I I don't know, like, but he's a good example of someone that was in the race who's not even from Toronto.
But
He
here's the
does.
funny thing: he had the highest followers on everybody, like on Twitter. I'm saying, out of
Yeah.
all the
Oh no, social media presence, but most of those people didn't live in Toronto.
well, yeah, and then it's funny is
I think
he didn't get any
fundraising.
media, he didn't get no media coverage. He got hired as some of the other old candidates, like or even the incumbents,
He
right?
was all over my Twitter feed.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
on Twitter,
like,
yeah, but that was it. That's all. That's all. Yeah, they wouldn't give any media coverage or nothing, and that's like
no,
even
he didn't. Well, because I think in the polling, what is he getting, like 1 or 2% of in the
yeah,
polling?
yeah, that's right. He was yeah,
Which is still 1 or 2%. There's nothing. That's nothing to sneeze at.
yeah,
But
yeah.
that comes. It's just true. I mean, if I don't know him from Adam and I see him, and I learned enough about him during the anti-vaccine campaign that he did, so I knew about him from that.
Yeah.
But if you're just someone who's exposed to him and you hear a couple of things he says, but then he's not, like, I don't know. But then to go back to 101, I mean, should there be a cap?
You mean like a
And
cap of candidates? No,
I kept
they would. They'd have to
problem is,
change. They'd have to change the laws about that. All the election
well,
laws.
I guess the downfall of that would be is if someone who, or a number of people, if you have 101 and they know you have a first come first serve, so the people that are more fast on the trigger, you could have 20-25 candidates that are completely unknown, no one's ever heard of them before, and then someone like a Chow or whoever you want to pick that's a strong, let's say a Doug Ford wasn't our premier and he ran a known name, but he got in 26th, he doesn't get the run. So I don't know. So I guess there's how do you make those rules, Phil? How do you decide?
Well, I guess look at it democracy wise. Like for somebody give me an example. It's okay. Yeah, it's like you have 45 candidates running for Toronto, right? And they all got food poisoning. And there's like one left. You know what I mean? So that
well,
goes back.
well, then
That
we
goes
get
against
that,
democracy. That's
we
goes.
get that poisoning happening in the city, then we have some issues. So yeah. But no, I mean, Phil, it's a good conversation. Uh, um, as always. And unfortunately, I have to bolt for my own work that I have to get done.
Yeah.
But that's why I asked you to kind of up the time again, because with my
No problem.
schedule, always it's an evolving door, and it always
I
seems to
know,
be.
you're busy. Yeah, yeah. I like your pics with your kids and all that. It's cool.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, thank you. And
Well, next time we'll come back. We'll talk more about sports because I know that's your thing.
well,
That's why.
I think and then what was one of my topics I was hoping to speak to you about. We can maybe talk about 2 minutes being a Habs fan, and
You really
then
want to talk about
City.
that?
No, well, I mean, after they blew it twice, two goal lead
Hey,
twice,
look at my
you
Jays.
know.
Look what the Jays did. Don't even go
Well,
there. My God.
here's with another topic that you just this is a good topic, analytics in sports, because it happens a lot in my world,
Yeah.
that analytics, and it's gotten so big into my world, and the problem with the analytics is it takes away the a lot of context of what's happening in real time. It takes away the
Yeah.
personal, and they
Let's
say
do
they
the
play.
next interview. We'll talk about sports because I want to talk analytics and also old school tactics, things that are not working. Like they got to upgrade, get rid of old. For me personally,
Yeah,
get rid of Atkins and Chaparro. That's my view. Shapiro, whatever his name is. Get rid of both of them. Get them out of there.
yeah. I like what they've done. I like what they haven't been there yet, but I can't wait to go into the and I keep want to call it the Sky Dome, into Rogers Center, with the changes in the restaurants and everything,
Yeah.
because I was last year before the changes, so I have to
And
make it back for next.
they're also doing the what do you got? The new arena for the Leafs there. They're upgrading the whole lounge and everything there.
Oh, they're doing
Next
at DC.
Yeah, next year gonna start renovating. So look beautiful.
There you go, by old names, Scotiabank Arena. Oh, they're
Pushback.
gonna.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the Kelly names
Yes,
here. So Pierre, I got
yeah.
1 minute and 30 seconds left. So what do you want? Anything you want to add about? Do you want to talk about the
No,
Habs again?
I think if we can, uh, especially what's going on in Israel and the
Oh God,
Palestinian,
yeah.
and we on top of it, I'd rather not even get into, because
No.
but hopefully we can treat each other even with different views,
Yeah.
with respect. Like Chris Guy, I would still talk to the guy, and I would still treat him with respect. If I met Klorpiev, I would still treat him with respect. I'd question him a lot, but I think we've lost that
Yeah.
in our and if we can just treat people nicer, then we'd have a better world.
That's great. So you got 1 minute left. So thank you, Pierre. Come back. Pierre gives us straight. We'll come back next time. We'll talk about sports. Whole thing about sports. Do
Of
that.
course.
And we'll pick up some players I want to talk about. I know you're a Habs fan. I'm a Jays fan.
Yeah.
I'm a Leafs fan. I'm not a Raptors fan too, somewhat. Anyways,
Well,
thanks for coming. Appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy guy. You're always traveling the world. I know you're busy.
yeah. Yeah. Always something, Phil.
I know. I'll send you a copy of the video and then we'll do another one next. Let's not wait
So,
too long for the next one, okay? So I'll do a little
all
quicker
right.
next time.
We'll
All
do
right.
we'll do
Have a
better.
good weekend and say hi to your family for me, okay?
You as well. Thanks, Phil.
Thanks.